All right. So my name is Devin Mccrory, and this is a presentation by the Wellness Initiative called Bring Back Our Boys, where we as Black men are going to get together and discuss the issue of how we can reconnect to young boys, teens, and young men in our communities so we can kind of provide guidance once again and kind of like use our power and our influence to alleviate some of the issues in the community. We want to make sure that we are being a positive influence and that we have influence. We see a lot of things going on in the community. And unfortunately, it seems as if guys who are Black men are losing control over the environment. Young men are running around without guidance, engaged in violence, engaged in things that are hurting the community. We want to sit down and discuss how we can emotionally, psychologically, spiritually reconnect with the youth so that we can provide some solutions and some guidance for some of these issues like gang violence and things of that nature. So I want you guys to introduce yourselves and say what your position is and what do you do to help the community? Anybody can just jump right on in.
All right, I'll go. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Smalls. I am a LMSW. Currently, I'm a school social worker at Craig Museum Academy Elementary School in Bloomfield. Also the director of Outreach Ministry at the Northside Church of Christ, which is in Hartford, Connecticut. Also the chair of the Social Action Committee for the Beta Sigma Atlanta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So just a bunch of different hats, but definitely fulfilling work.
All right,
guys. Yep, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm the lead specialist for the Hartford Communities That Care. We offer victims of violent crime services and help them navigate that process. I'm also a youth football coach. Been doing that now for 2.5 years now. And I'm just reaching out much as I can to talk about the youth in our city. So happy to be here with you guys, and thanks for having me.
Okay.
My name is Justin Mitchell. I'm the founder and president of Ballheads Incorporated. It's a nonprofit out of Meriden, Connecticut. The ball stands for sports. The head stands for mindfulness. That's what I like to bring to the table with the kids. Most when I coach basketball, they come in, they think about LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, at 5'3", 5'4". So, I try to give them something else that they can utilize besides, if that NBA don't work out, which, mostly don't. So, dealing with a lot of minorities, especially Black boys, we put into their head, got to make it to the league. And that's what they feel in their heart. So when they don't make it, they feel like failure. So then that's when they turn to the streets. That's when they turn to drugs. And so I'm just trying to overcome, that generational that a lot of us, when we were growing up, we had in our minds as being like the only way to make it out of the hood is to make it to the league or be a big star, So I try to put into their heads, you could be a dentist, you could be a carpenter and have that same life that you dreamed of, and, I'm reading some books and it's like the main thing that a lot of Black, millionaires produce is sweat. So we got to do more than just produce sweat. We got to use our brain. We got to use our intellect that a lot of us don't. We got to just regenerate that thought process and not just put all the focus on sports. So, I bring them in with the sport. And then when I get them in there, I try to give them different tools to be successful, as adulthood. So I'm just happy to be on this panel, and like to learn from other good brothers and give a little insight that I possess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Ty, why don't you hop in?
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm known as celebrity photographer Ty Waterman of BCAS Photographs, and a new thing I call the BCAS Experience, where I get to interview a lot of the celebrities that I met and some common people and show that behind the scenes, we got a lot going on. But I'm also the family engagement specialist with Crack Open Choice, which is something newer to me. When you ask my experience working with youth, I've been working with youth since I was a youth. I'm considered a dropout on some aspects, but I'm also considered somebody that was forced out of school during the 90s when the gang wars was heavy. A situation occurred where I got jumped by one of the major gangs in the city, and no one was there to support me. The people that were supposed to help me out within the school systems, they failed me, ultimately led me to getting a GED, which started my life in youth development. I've been doing youth development for over 20 some odd years. I'm considered one of the first official youth development apprentices. I worked with my man Aristide Hill, but I was like one of the first people that was fully trained. They were hiring people and telling them you're a youth development specialist. My boss said, I'm gonna make you an apprentice. And I'm like, what's that? All I know is it meant less money. What she did for me was build me up in youth development. She taught me all the aspects of youth development. Before there was any academy in Hartford or around, she was teaching me a lot of different things. So I always have respect for that. So I've been doing so much with youth, and as much as I can with whether it's my photography, trying to give back. I was the underdog growing up in school, and the fact that I sit and hang out with celebrities on a regular basis is a beautiful thing. So it shows the kids that you can have a dream and don't ever let someone tell you, no, you can't do it.
All right. Brother Hill, would you jump on in? Introduce yourself?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. And I'm glad to be on this panel with these esteemed brothers. It's always a pleasure to look at other brothers that are making an impact in the community. And of course, with you and my brother Ty, that I know and was a former colleague, this is truly a blessing. But my name is Aristide Hill, and I'm currently the mentoring program manager with the Governance Prevention Partnership. And my role there is all things training and technical assistance to mentoring programs around the state of Connecticut. And also I convene 5 mentoring collaboratives around the state of Connecticut, where I convene meetings where mentoring programs can share resources, share recruitment ideas and things of that nature to make sure that, we're reaching the population of youth that are overlooked for most parts. I started with the Governance Prevention Partnership running a mentoring program. That's where I met Devin. I was the program director for a school-based mentoring program for 3 years. And we really worked with that school. That was at Simpson Waverly School. And we worked with those young people. And that was a very needy school. And we saw a lot of things there, but we did a lot of good to that community and still connected with a lot of those young people today. My road to get here, like Tyrone, I've done youth development my entire adult life. That's what I was trained to do. That's what I've always done. I've worked, when I first moved to Connecticut, I'm from Massachusetts. I worked with the YMCA for many years, becoming a program director there, but also working in their shelter. I worked in a maximum security detention center for a few years, a minimum security detention center, and I was also a clinician with the Hartford Yes program. So my background is varied. Working with young Black males is a passion for me. And currently I'm a mentor as well.
All right, thank you, sir. Brother Musk, you gonna hop in and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. First of all, Devin, I want to thank you for the platform, much needed platform. Takes a strong person to put these platforms together. So thank you very much. My name is Rich Mutz. I'm the visionary founder of the Bourne Ridge Foundation, located right here in the greater New Haven area, serving mostly East Haven, New Haven, and Hamden areas and underrepresented communities. We are a social justice and race equity organization that wants to allow access to the underprivileged and the disenfranchised communities. So whether it be access to employment, access to education, and most importantly, access to information, because that's going to take our people further along than any, I believe, than any other gateways. But I'm just excited to be here with a great group. I do know a few people up here. I've seen some, whether you know me or not, I've seen you, a few of you around, or I know your name. So I'm definitely happy to be here. I've been involved with youth my whole life, whether it be working at YMCAs like Mr. Hill or just being a program coordinator on Meriden, where I met Justin and things like that, developing programs for our people, for our communities, the ones that typically get lost and forgotten about or underserved. So I'm just happy to be here and I'm thankful for the opportunity.
All right. And I am Devin Mccrory. I am the founder and president of the Wellness Initiative. I also work at a drug rehab facility out in Durham, Connecticut called Rushford at Durham, and it's a facility for adolescent males. And I teach mindfulness and meditation as a way to help people deal with depression, trauma, anxiety, and stress. And in my background, I've worked at public schools. I've worked in mentor programs. I mean, I've been working with the youth for a very, very, very long time, from children with learning disabilities to children with severe behavior issues and trauma. I began introducing mindfulness and meditation at Simpson Waverly School, where I met Brother Hill. And I gathered as much data as I possibly could on how effective meditation and mindfulness can be, helping kids to overcome low self-esteem, overcome behavior issues, and confront trauma. And I can say that I have the data to prove that mindfulness and meditation is effective. And I've spent a big chunk of the last few years trying to introduce mindfulness and meditation to pretty much every environment where I've worked, because I know it can actually create changes within people and inspire people. So, and we have one more guest. If the guest would like to introduce himself.
You guys, I am so sorry. I am in between. I'm in between two Zoom meetings. One of them I just finished chairing, and the other one I gotta talk to some political people. But give me a minute. I'm gonna come back. I think I'm up to speak at 7:25 at this other meeting. But before then, my name is Doug McCrory. Some people call me Senator McCrory. I represent Hartford, North End of Hartford, Bloomfield, and Windsor. I'm a 30-year educator. And while educating, me and my mentor started a school within a school, an all-boys school called the Benjamin Mays Institute. Best program in Connecticut ever seen, educating Black boys to the highest levels that the state has never seen. They wouldn't give us a charter so we can have our own school. Because of that, I ran for office, and now I'm the chair of the education committee. So now they all got to come talk to me. Right. And the bottom line is, I've been working with young boys, young Black boys all my life. You know, I came up the same way everybody else came up, playing ball, going to school, you know, the whole 9 yards. Played Division I basketball, the whole 9 yards. The whole skill. Decided to stay in my community instead of leaving out. Once I, started making money, and like I said, I ran for office. I ran for office because I wanted to make a change, bigger change, and make a bigger impact. And it's not a person in Connecticut or Hartford, Hartford area that don't know me or know my reputation. I'm 100% real about everything I do. Everyone knows that. Some of these faces on here I do recognize, of course, Ty, Brother Hill, Smalls. Yeah, it would correct me. Okay, I gotta run. That's my call. So I'm gonna try to come back. Okay, and we can talk from there. Hello, bye.
Thank you.
Hey, I know McCrory's leaving, but I just want to say, when I was telling you earlier, I was unemployed for like 2 years. I happened to get an award called the Unsung Award. I got up and spoke with my son, and then afterwards, my mentor, one of my mentors, my big sis, Stacy Miller Epps, I was telling her that I'm unemployed, and I said, I don't know what to do right now. I know I just want to get back to working with youth. And she said, "You talked to Doug?" I said, "I didn't think about that." So I mentioned it to Doug. Doug said, "Get at me later. I got you." I've heard that so many times in my life, but when I did, let's just say I'm in a good place right now.
All right.
So shout out to Doug. When he say he's from Hartford and he knows people, yeah, he do. He's real touched by everything that he does in the community. So I thank him.
All right.
That's what it's all about right there, what we're talking about. Each one teach one, just lifting each other up. And that's definitely, I'm not from Connecticut, but Hartford, I got a lot of love for Hartford. Of course, my wife's from Hartford. But the camaraderie and the brotherhood in Hartford is unbelievable.
And I don't want to take over your platform, but like when I was working, Aristide came over to this job after. So I'm thinking I'm going to take him under my wings. Little did I know it was the other way around. When I was searching to go back to school, to go to college, Aristide took me up to Springfield College, and he was one of the key people that helped put that spark in me to get me to going back to school. So you never know. Sometimes you just got to listen to these folks, especially these young folks, and be willing to give a hand up to, because you never know where you're going to be at. This was over 20 years later. This is my brother right here, just like me and you. When I said the journey of me, dropping out of school, when I turned around to go for my GED, I looked to my left, and you were there with me, Devin.
Yep, I was.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. So, and let's piggyback off of that for a quick second. We all are individuals who work with the youth in our communities. And our community seems to be in some ways deteriorating pretty rapidly as far as things that are happening in the streets. Can you guys tell me, what do you think is the biggest and most urgent issue of what's happening in our cities throughout Connecticut, especially in regards to young boys?
It is a lot of problems. I'll just touch on one point. I don't want to touch on too many, but a lot of times, I'm not even going to talk about the single family or the, stuff like that, because, that's rampant. But there's a lot of the stigma of, Black males that don't take care of their children. That's a terrible myth that I'm always trying to bust down. That's a disgusting myth that I hate. Even my brothers and cousins that's in jail, they love their children. You know what I'm saying? Black people love their children. And a lot of time, that's why mindfulness and being mentally strong is so tough, because, I have 3 baby mothers, children's mother. I don't want to know the proper English. I'm gonna be real, I have 3. So it's been difficult trying to co-parent. And I had to really look in the mirror and figure out that it was my fault, and to really look at myself and say, I put myself in this situation. How am I gonna, get myself out? Because not getting along with the mothers, the only thing that affects is the children. So, I'm 44 now, and I wish I was doing this at 22, at 24. And that's why, mentoring is so important, because we have to save, this next generation, so they don't have to, a lot of people say you learn from your mistakes. I'd rather you learn from others' mistakes and you not make the same mistakes as others. So, that whole stigma of, just trying to figure out ways to co-parent, and communication is important, and so sometimes it's tough, because a lot of hurt, a lot of pain is out there. So dealing with emotions is huge, especially for Black boys, because to show emotions, you're known as soft. I tell my boys all the time,
You freezing up on us, just.
Yeah, I think he lost a connection.
Yeah. Anybody else want to hop in?
Yeah, I'll go where he was going with it. I think, to answer your question, that the whole lack of coping skills is a huge deal. Like, our boys legit don't know how to handle negative feelings, whether it's sadness, anger, frustration. How they externalize that or how they internalize it is completely inappropriate, for a good chunk of our boys.
I love them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, go ahead, Justin. You back on?
Oh man, what happened? Where was I at?
I was trying to fill in the plate for you while you were going, but go ahead. You talk about how you.
I appreciate it. That's what we do. That's how you throw that assist. I threw that lob. You just catch it and dunk it. But I forgot, man. I don't even know what I was saying. What was I talking about?
How you tell your boys about how to deal with
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We thinks different. So it's all right to say I love you. It's all right to give hugs, you know what I'm saying? It's all right to show emotions, to cry. It's like the only emotion ain't happiness and just always, get happy, and because life ain't about that. We got a spectrum of emotions, and you got to be able to deal with all of them. And mindfulness will teach you how to see the emotion and not label it. Like, if you anger, it's all right to be angry. It's all right to be mad. It's all right to be frustrated. It's all right to do all that stuff, but how are we gonna react on that? So, I'm still in the recovery mode right now. I got to call, my son's mother today. We working on it. It's a life journey that we ain't never, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
So, that things like this help, mend me and help soothe me. So I need these just as much. And that's why I tell the kids I mentor, I'm like, y'all help me just as much as I help y'all. Sometimes even more, because I need them just as much as they need me. It's not no 80-20. I'm not going to sit around and lecture. We're going to talk. We're going to have a friendship. It's not no mentorship. It ain't no one thing. We friends. Let's be friends. Let's talk. I be real with them. You know what I'm saying? I smoke weed for years. It's like, it's all right. You can tell me the truth. I'm not here to tell you what you're doing is wrong, because that's not my job. My job is to make you live a life that you're proud of and that you're happy about. And whatever it is at the end of the day, that's your choice. But, we just here to, try to guide them the proper way.
All right. Bro Small, what were you saying?
No, there needs to be a way where we could kind of teach them and reground them on the appropriate ways to just react to life and hardships and challenges a little bit better. Because, you know, if we look in our schools, you know, it starts early too. It starts as early as pre-K, you know, with like kids don't know how to be kids. Like they want to be something, harder than kids. They want to be something that's not natural. And we as men, even how we socialize them to be men, you know, we have to take a look in the mirror about that and say, you know, are we really teaching them the skills that they need to make it and to respond well emotionally? And the reality is a lot of because we weren't taught that, you know, so you only teach what you're taught. You can only pour out what's been poured into you. And for a generation or two, some of us have been poured, some of us are made up of things that really aren't that healthy if we're really honest about it, you know. So telling young boys, like, don't cry, you know, you're a boy, you don't cry. Right. It's like, no, I'm in pain. Maybe I should let out a tear or two, so that way I don't turn those tears into bullets.
Right.
I don't turn those tears into fists. I don't turn those tears into knocking down the next person who's weaker than me so they can feel the pain that I'm feeling. You know what I mean? So that starts with us kind of just challenging our own culture and our own method of socialization about, you know, what's really good with being a man. Like, how do you do it? Like, what is true? What does masculinity really look like?
So. Gotcha. Okay, just to catch up, brother, Kelvin Lovejoy, he just joined us. Brother Lovejoy, can you hear me?
I sure can, sir. Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to fill you in on what we're discussing right now. I asked the question of, since we all work with youth in our community, I was asking what we all feel is the biggest issue or the biggest challenge working with young men in our respective roles in our community. So anybody who wanted to hop in, we'll continue the conversation.
I would like to touch base on that a little, if you don't mind, really quick. Devin, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
you. You said in the beginning you wanted to keep it real, correct?
Yes, keep it very real.
I'm gonna take it a little bit about what Justin said, a little bit about what Brother Small said is racism. And when we think about the correlation between power and racism, and they go hand in hand. Our schools receive less funding. When you look at the nonprofits, like, okay, say, think of Bourne Rich or Ball Heads or whoever else knows that we BIPOC led, and that's Black, Indigenous, people of color, we get less funding. Our hospitals receive less funding. Our education receives less funding. So then we have as little as simple as the simple microaggressions and the implicit biases that our teachers, when they see young Black students in the classroom, when they're directing conversation towards them, it starts at such a young age, and then it builds up. And then in the household as well, as we are, there's a difference between being a man and being a male. There's a difference, and once we differentiate, but to make it short, because I could go on forever, and I don't want to do that because there's some great minds up here, racism and the systemic gradual effects that have been long before we got here, and they're just manifesting now, and they continue to grow as we evolve as Black men. So racism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if I could just, I'd love to add to that, to say that when we talk about a young person, if you take a young a Black boy and you watch him in kindergarten, how creative and how, smart and how curious he is. By the time he gets to third grade, you've got to be very careful about what's going on in the teachers, because he's probably never seen a Black teacher up to that point. And in third grade, not all that creativity and energy is not, it's not cute anymore. Now it's a problem. And so now they're sending them to the office. They're labeling that person, and it's unfortunate. And so that's what, as Black men, we have to go through. Right. From that point on, you have a target on your head, and it's just systemic. It's just systemic the way it is. And that's why it's good for brothers like us that are here in this meeting to be able to recognize that and work with young people and let them know that, listen, you can still have those dreams like you did when you were in, kindergarten through third grade, and you can do the best, because, getting through the public school system, you get beat up pretty good.
Yep.
I know about getting beat up pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like, just my story a little bit, I remember getting jumped and going to my classroom, and my teacher said, what are you doing here causing a disturbance? I'm looking at him like, I got blood coming out my nose. My buttons are all ripped up. And what am I doing here? He wanted to call security on me. He told me to go to the principal. I go to the principal. The principal is over here looking at me like, what am I still doing in school? Mind you, I just turned 18. I was in the 9th grade homeroom. It wasn't that I was stupid. I didn't have any credits because I wasn't going to school. And the people that were supposed to be there to see this kid is not going to school, what's going on? Let's help him.
Exactly.
They're not doing that. And then this principal, he sees somebody that's 18 that's in the 9th grade. He's like, what are you doing in school? His only answer to me was, where do you live? When I said I live, right off of Park Street in Hartford, he walked me to the back door of the school and said, run home. He wasn't there to assist me and help me and motivate me to want to continue to get an education. It wasn't until I went into after school programs that those people built me up. The people teaching me non-traditional skills, things that I was able to use, life skills. I learned Latin. Only time it's good for me is when I'm using Jeopardy or trying to like get in between languages that are based on Latin. You know what I'm talking about. That high level algebra never helped me out, not one bit. I know how to count my money as long as it's in the bank properly. I ain't missing nothing. So what I feel we're missing are what I like to call cultivators. Cultivators are like mentors. I'm on this way, Aristide's next to me, so I'm going like this. They're like mentors, but they're the ones that are there for the long term. They're the ones that not just plant the seed, but they continue to water the seed. They know that if I act up today, that's not what it's going to be like tomorrow, because I planted the seed within you. That means I got to keep with you. I got to keep nurturing you. I got to keep consistently helping you. When I see Brother Lovejoy on the screen, I've known Brother Lovejoy since I was a kid. One of my first interactions doing youth development, we had a situation where somebody that he referred me to wanted me to do something for him. And that guy turned around and stiffed me on the money. I told Brother Lovejoy is under this guy when we're talking about power structure. This is somebody that is another brother who's supposed to see Lovejoy as somebody who works for him and helping the community. He's supposed to help him out. And he's not only putting down a youth, he's trying to put down the person that's working with the youth. And now this is a higher up. Lovejoy told him off in a couple ways. I didn't see that money then, right? Fast forward years later, I'm working in youth development. I got a kid under my wing. He tells me he's working for the same agency. He's doing something very similar that I was doing, which was like, PowerPoint and websites. He said he didn't get paid. I walked into the CEO's office. I mentioned Lovejoy's name, how he helped me out back in the day, how I didn't get paid by this man. He said, don't worry, I'm gonna make sure that this kid gets paid. In fact, how much were you owed? I told him how much I was owed. That was like 5 years before that. I got my interest. And that guy got let go over the summer because the CEO wanted him to finish a project he was doing. But it's like, just to know that, there's people in our community that actually care, that cultivate, and the cultivation or the planting of the seeds within me, those mentors that help me out. Now I'm spreading the same type of love and interaction with these kids. So stuff that Lovejoy has done for me, my all-time high mentor, who I call him like my father in this game for me, has been this guy by the name of Rudy Thomas. And everything he's done for me, I've been able to reach down. So sometimes, like, I remember being a kid, and I know I'm talking long, I'm trying not to, but I remember being a kid and saying that I wanted to be the first Black president. Then we had a first Black president, so that was scrapped. But what I learned is sometimes we may not be the one that's meant to do it. Maybe we're the ones that's supposed to cultivate someone to doing it. And in the same breath, we then are a part of that dream. It's still our dream.
So to shift gears very, very quickly, because I know we can keep building on this one particular question for a while. What I wanted to ask was, what is a man and what is a man's role in a community? And is the issue with all the things happening to youth and young men is that there's not enough real men, or that our definition of a real man is flawed in some way, shape, or form? What's going on?
Our tap on that real quick. That's a heavy question because you got to first check in yourself first to make sure that you are a man to be able to answer the question. And and I take a lot of pride in being a man of substance, man of integrity. Looking at the men that I think that's in our.
I'm getting feedback on somebody's mic. I think somebody got mute their mic. I'm getting feedback. Sorry, Larry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yep. It's all right. Yeah, Pedro. So us being able to check in with ourselves and checking in on our trauma and our issues, and being able to address them early on, so you can properly handle and work with the youth. What I've been seeing is that many folks are getting into the field, getting into the work, and they're working out good, but they haven't really checked on their trauma and their pain yet. So that they're able to do the job that's asked for, but to truly make an impact on these lives of these young men is to be able to go above and beyond, and that's something that only a man can actually do, right? So you have to be dedicated to yourself, dedicated to the work itself, and also being willing to say, you know what, I understand what the 9 to 5 is, but to really get the work done, you're going to have to work a little bit longer than that. And so being able to have the men in our communities to check themselves first and check off those points of, okay, well, I have some trauma in my history that's not been dealt with yet. I have some pain that haven't been dealt with yet. Yes, I have a good job, but until we check those balances, it's impossible to like really impact change on anybody else. You know what I mean? So yeah, just checking ourselves first, making sure that we're okay first before we actually go out there and hope to save a life.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to hop in?
I think as males, we're from the animal instinct, we're protectors. We got to get back to the protection of our families and educators also. We don't want to send our kids to school to be educated. I think I want to teach my sons, more from they could get the academics or stuff they got to get through school, but life education, I want that to come from the male. I think we have to go back to not just protecting our women, but protecting the children, because they're vulnerable people out there. I've seen a lot of the Black Lives Matter, walks out there, and I've seen a lot of women. I've seen a lot of women out there, and they was going through a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I went to a few of them, and I had to, stand up, like, because, you're going to be disrespecting a woman, you're going to have to come through me. So we got to come back to those days of being the protectors and not just, just being in the background, trying to be cool, trying to have the bottles at the clubs and chilling and doing all that stuff. We got to, drop all that stuff and really come back to our natural roles in the world as not just leaders, but just the protectors.
Brother Lovejoy had a point he wanted to share. Yeah, Brother Lovejoy, go ahead.
Can you hear me, brother?
I can hear you.
So, a good brother of mine, Dr. Chico Akua, he sent me information. And you definitely
Brother Lovejoy, something's wrong with your audio.
If you might have to mute, Doug.
have a conversation in the back, brother.
There you go.
Can you still hear me?
Sounds a little muffled.
Okay. Oh, now.
Okay, perfect.
So I was saying a good brother who has become a friend and someone that I really look up to, Dr. Chico Akua. We were talking about this thing about mentoring, right? And one of the things that he sent me to research was how the word mentor comes out of the European culture, of course, right? And so he introduced me to a new word, and the word is Jegna, Jegna, Jegna. all right? And so here's what he sent me. He says, the author of African Psychology, Dr. William Nobles, introduced a more suitable word than mentor when referring to those who have influence. The word jegna are those special people, and they have these 6 qualities. Number 1, they've been tested in the struggle or the battle. They are someone who demonstrates fearlessness. They are one who has the courage to protect themselves, their people, their culture, and their way of life. Number 4, they show diligence and dedication to our people. Number 5, they've produced an exceptionally high quality of work. And lastly, they've dedicated themselves to the protection, defense, nurturance, and development of our young by advancing our people, place, and culture. For me, that's what being a man is all about. For me, Jegna represents the manhood protocol.
And do you feel that that protocol is lacking in our community, and especially when you look at the potential evidence that something is going on wrong? Something's wrong. There's something lacking. Is it men that are lacking? Is it the manhood protocol that's lacking in our communities, creating our issues?
I'm going to say that the manhood protocol was taken, that the manhood protocol poses a threat to the status quo of the white power structure.
Yeah.
And that when the Jegna stepped off the so-called slave ship, he was the first one to be killed because he was number 1 to stand up to be a protector of self, women, children, and the people that look just like us.
Can I hop on that real quick? So 2 thoughts about it is, so reading this book, Urban Trauma by Dr. Maisa Akbar out of New Haven, the Yale Child Study. In a lot of her books, she talked about, it wasn't just like she just jumped straight to urban trauma. She went through the historical aspects of kind of like where we are today. And she revisited that idea about slavery and how the family was broken up. We think it was kind of like a coincidence, but it was extremely intentional by the masters, to separate, to create these gaps in family where you were raising other people's kids, and that they were taking, you had a kid in one plantation, they'll take that kid from the plantation, put it on another, take the mom, take the father, just split everybody up. So there was no identity, there was no type of connection. And how, even revisiting the diary of Willie Lynch, and how he instructed on how, to break your bucks. So if you see a strong man, if you see a Jegna, if you see someone who has any type of influence, any type of dominance or true manship, you will break him down in front of everyone else, so you could establish your authority and break down that structure that we as Africans, kings and queens and others had, and one continent to the other. So from that, hundreds of years later, we're still struggling, with that identity, with the understanding of like you having a responsibility to be something greater than yourself. This idea of dedication to your community, this protection. Even for me, like if you ask a question, what's missing in the definition of a man, I always think to myself, what is my legacy? Like, what am I leaving behind? That's a question I ask myself all the time. And I had a pastor once say it during someone's funeral. He says, between your birth date and your death date, there's a dash. And he asked a question. He says, what does your dash look like? What's your dash look like? Like when you leave this world, what are people going to remember you by? What are they going to remember you for? Is it going to be the big belt buckle, the Gucci belt? Is it going to be, the swag? Is it going to be, how much brown liquor you drink? Like how you could hold your liquor? How you could what do people know you for? So like all you brothers, your names come up. We know your workmanship. Like we know what you produce. We know what y'all about. All right. But for a lot of our colleagues in the community, our brothers in the community, like what's their legacy? What are they popular for? Like what do you know Ty for? What do you know John for? What do you know? Like, you start naming folks that we came up with that are our age. What do you know them for? So we have to regain that back.
Got you. And this idea of legacy, I think, is very, very important. And also, you mentioned, being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. How do you instill these ideas in young men who, for the most part, are only living for the moment, and indoctrinated with the idea that they're only going to live for a short period of time, even though they might not have the vocabulary or they might not verbally express it. They've been taught from an early age, and they've accepted from an early age that they're going to die soon, and that like, life doesn't hold much for them. How do we instill the idea of legacy, which is longevity, into young men who believe that they're going to die any minute?
I think it's important that I first of all, I want to say I love this platform because we're getting underneath the surface.
Right.
So we're not just talking about surface level. We're looking at the bottom of the glacier, the root causes of it. So I think it's always important when we touch upon that. We have to relearn, re-educate and relearn. And we might have to, like Brother Johnson said, we got to check ourselves. Like it's the age-old adage of not meaning to be cliches. With if the airplane's going down, you put your mask on before you can save the next person. Right. Like we all have trauma, and everybody, and race has a lot to do with it. But our people have been through a whole lot, and we're just seeing the effects way down the line. But we have to relearn about it. We have to face the trauma, face it, and put it behind us so it pushes us. Because when we keep it in front of us, it's a roadblock then. But once we put it behind us, it'll guide us in a different direction. But we have to relearn, re-educate, and continue to be consistent. Be consistent, understanding that we have room to grow. At whether we're 50 years old, 100 years old, we still have room to grow. We got to meet these kids where they're at. Some of us are stuck in our ways as we get a little older. It's like we used to do it this way. It's a whole nother world, man. Yeah, but it's a whole new world. But I think that just courageous conversations like this and holding ourselves accountable, but understanding that, man, we've been through a lot, and our mamas have been through a lot, and our granddaddies, and they've been through a whole lot. And these are just the scars that we're seeing now.
Right.
Yeah.
Brother, go ahead.
Yeah, Brother Mutz, I'm gonna piggyback off that because you bring up a very good point. For our young brothers, it looks different. Their struggle is different from ours. I'm 51. I grew up in the 80s, and I consider playing with house money because I thought at 18 I was going to be out of here. I saw my friends start dying when they were, 15, 16 years old. I saw people dropping off like flies. But it's going to look different for them because it's a different time. And guess what? By the way, we saw it over the summer with the George Floyd protest. We saw these brothers, taken to the streets, knowing that something is not right. And it was encouraging to see that, it looked different from us. They dressed different. They listened to different things, but they were motivated and they came together under one common cause. And I think that's what we're going, what we need, like Tyrone was talking about cultivators, we need to grab that energy and guide them the right way. They're not going to take all of our advice, but they're going to listen to the elder brothers and make sure that we just guide them the right way. But I'm encouraged by what I saw over the summer and what young people are doing now.
Yeah, and just to say something real quick, I know Ty, you raised your hand. I got you 1 second, but I also want to piggyback up what you were saying, Brother Hill, that what you saw over the summer was inspirational for you. And I went to actually one of the Black Lives Matter marches, and it was very inspirational. These young people have a fire under them, and they're very, very passionate. All they just need, like you said, is somebody just to guide that flame and properly cultivate it. Ty, go ahead. You gotta unmute yourself, brother.
Oh, I know. I'm used to this.
Okay.
So in life, we got these sayings that are passed down, and these sayings, we get caught up on them. And there's things like, since we were talking about, what our forefathers, our regular fathers, and all of them. The first thing I remember my pop saying when I got ready to drop out of school, I'm sticking on the theme. That's why I'm saying this. When I told him I was ready to drop out of school, he was pissed. Okay. Then he said something like, I had to walk miles barefoot to school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What your thing ain't my thing. Did you have to walk miles barefoot to school, from school, dodging bullets? Because that's what I got going on right now.
Exactly.
And I think about kids today. They are walking the miles barefoot to school, dodging bullets, dodging police, and all kinds of other racism and things, all these things, so we have to meet them where they are. Like my brother said, we have to look and listen. Sometimes my biggest successes working with kids was just shutting up and listening, hearing what they have to say. I had a kid who wanted to commit suicide, and I said, listen, you could do it your mom's way because his mom wanted to put him out. You could do it your way because you talking about what you talking about, or you could just listen to what I gotta say, which is I'll take you down to somewhere we can get you assessed. And after that, I just shut up. I let him breathe. I let him think about what I had to say. I let him talk about everything he had to say. By the end of the conversation, I sat with him for almost 24 hours in the ER, got him treated, got him assessed. And I swear to you, on the anniversary of my death, I mean, not my death, woo, my mom's death, last week, I went to a Thai restaurant. So I'm half Black and half Asian. So I got two different struggles going on today. And anyways, I go to a Thai restaurant to honor my mother. And who walks in? That kid. The fact, and he told me he was in there because he loved the food. And the fact that I introduced him to a different culture, that I changed his mindset. So we got to look at helping them to change their mindset, especially when we're talking about what I said earlier about sayings. There's so many different sayings. To go with what you said earlier, there's a big saying that the kids love to say, right? But right after they say RIP to whoever, and they make a shirt that says RIP, they say the good die young. No, they don't. They die too. If they die young, they die too early. The good die old, raise their kids, they retired somewhere in Florida, whatever it is. So we got to be able to re-educate our youth on the different lifestyles that they're choosing and why they're choosing, not judge them. There's a big difference, stop snitching. If you tell on this, if you do that, and if you see a murder in cold blood, stop snitching. No, that's called doing the right thing. A lot of these cats be like, stop snitching, unless it's one of their own family members. Then they got it. Please come forward, tell the police, somebody say something, somebody do something. I know somebody who saw a murder, watched their cousin get murdered right in front of them, and they ain't say nothing because they held on to stop snitching. Now, if that ain't cold, I don't know what is.
Right. And also, I want to hop on real quick and say, I think one of the things that keeps coming up is the racism and the way racism affects our young men's sense of themselves. Oftentimes, they act recklessly because racism has devalued them. And I realized that, a lot of the great Black teachers and leaders who I've studied, they use a technique that nobody ever really named. I call it retroactive persona formation. Retroactive persona formation is when you re-educate somebody based upon their history. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he came and he taught that our history was totally false. And he taught us that the Black man is God. So imagine you a young kid, you've been called a nigga since you could hear words, you've been called a nigga. And somebody come and tell you that you God. Or the noble Drew Ali, he came and told me, we wrote Black history. He said, listen, you're not a nigga, you're not Negro, Black, or colored, you're a Moor, you have a nationality and you have a history. Same thing with there's a brother named Yahweh ben Yahweh. Yahweh ben Yahweh was a Hebrew Israelite. He taught that the Black man is the true Hebrew of the Bible, the true Israelite of the Bible. Now, if you're hearing all of these things about your history, all these things about your past, it's going to definitely elevate your sense of self. And that's what we have to start doing, because they start at an early age telling our kids that they're valueless. And our kids can actually witness how little value they have when they look at videos of police brutality. They can see how little value society has for them, how little interest society has in them, and how society views them at an early age. My son, when he was in school at 4, one of the kids at his school was like, I don't want to sit next to Divine because he's brown. And this is a little white kid, 4 years old, who was taught early on that brown people have no value. So I have to teach my son every single day, do you know who you are? Every single day I got to. That's why he says, Daddy, why you keep telling me all this history? I teach him about Ethiopia. I teach him about Emperor Haile Selassie, Emperor Menelik. I teach him about Lalibela. I teach him about Narmer. I teach him about Tariq Ibn Ziyad. And the other day I'm playing with him. He pulls out a Lego that's shaped like a person. And he said, Daddy, this is Tariq. I was like, Tariq who? It's like, Tariq Ibn Ziyad. I said, what did he do? He said, he conquered Spain. I was like, all right, there you go. So now his history and his sense of self has a sense of power, because he's acting, instead of him acting out a nigga in the hood, he's acting out a great Black Moorish Muslim conqueror. So now I put these ideas in his head that give him a sense of power. And I think that we have to start doing that on a greater level and start really implementing retroactive persona formation, but bringing it into schools and really going hardcore.
Yeah, the information is available, right? We're living in it, with internet and social media. The information is available. How do we just get it, to the right place, and how do we bend that?
Exactly. And we have to figure out ways to bring it into the schools, but maintain control over it, because the schools are going to want to water it down and change some of the things. I mean, you can't go to no black school and tell black kids they God. Like you gonna get kicked out. Trust me, I tried it. I tried it. They told me I couldn't do it. So sorry. But yeah, let's feed off that a little bit. How can we get this information into the schools and in the public? Brother, I love what you have to say.
Oh, yes, indeed, brother. You done stimulated me over here, brother. Come on. I had to change my background, you know what I'm saying? The background with the police from last night, but then touching on some things, I was like, I had to put Mas Mariam up.
Oh yeah,
I was here this past weekend.
Okay.
And I had a chance to sit in front of the man.
Okay.
Don't or can't conceptualize, right? What an elder Malcolm X would be like, right? Malcolm X of 75, 85, right? But I had the chance to listen to 87-year-old Louis Farrakhan. And seeing as how they came up under the same teaching, under the same, right? Here we are today with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, not just floating ambiguously out there in the world, but the exact same mindset that racism in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s is still alive today. And so you say, how do we get the information out there? Number one, we're gonna have to teach our own,
right?
All right. And if we can't go into the schools, which right now COVID has made that very convenient, then we have to come up with ways to educate our own. And this platform right here, just being online, may be the first start. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be radical for a second, brother. With what you taught your son, coming off that slave ship, brother, coming up the 16, the 17, the 1800s, they would have hung you from a tree, good brother. They would have hung you from a tree for teaching that to your son. Hell, it's in the 1900s, they still might have hung you. All right? And so just for being a strong Black man, just for being or expressing what you believe to be true for you, your children, your sons especially, and your people, there's an opposition that wants to make sure that that doesn't come to the light of day. We finally arrived at the moment in time where we can be unapologetically Black. I want you to hear what I'm saying. I'm not get along integrational Black. No. Stand up, do for self. Don't care who the hell know about it. You're unapologetically Black. I get blacker amongst white people. The whiter, the blacker I get.
All right, thank you, Brother Lovejoy. So, yeah, and do you guys think that that's a part of the issue? Brother Lovejoy brought a really interesting point. Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Smalls. Yes, something you want to say? You got your hand raised. I'm sorry.
Yeah, real quick about the whole education piece. So, like, I think, and I hate to say it this way, but not a lot of good, but some good came out of the deaths of, our sister Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd on last spring, because it kind of sparked this movement where it's like, much like Brother Lovejoy saying, we just don't care no more. Like, what do we have to lose? We're gonna hit these streets. We're gonna tear these statues down. We're gonna get some laws changed. So we're still in that momentum. And I think the problem is some folks think we've moved past that moment, and they don't understand that, we're still in the process of a movement. We need to keep that same energy. So even when it comes to looking at our education system, the academics and the curriculum, what needs to happen is we do have opportunities to change what's being taught to our kids, but we have to do it the way other groups have been able to infiltrate and get their stuff in the system. So what that means is we need to show up to the Board of Education meetings. We need to show up to the town council meetings and the mayor's office. We need to make noise and not go quietly into the night, because when we go quietly into the night, we might as well just get right back on the slave ship. We have to continue to build that energy. So what that means is, so for example, I give you one group that seems like it's larger than it is, but it's really not, the LGBTQIA group. In the correct system, there are books, there are things in the curriculum, sometimes things that come up. But the bottom line is this: you would swear that there are millions of them, just based upon the amount of change that has happened in the school district to honor, their culture and their history. However, it's really not. It's just a select few who have been able to raise up and be persistent, be diligent, and be loud about what they want to be advocated for and what they want, how they want to be represented in the education system. There's no reason why Black people who've been here for roughly 500 years, who are coming off the movements that we're coming off, why we can't get true curriculum in our history, why we can't make them stop lying about Christopher Columbus, why we can't make them stop lying about, colonialism, both here and abroad. Like, there are ways to infiltrate that. I'm not saying, we may not be able to get them to write, you're a Black God on the board. However, we might be able to get them to stop lying about, American history, the American Revolution, and the slaughter of Native Americans. We can get that. Because all that stuff is well documented. Like, that's undisputable fact. So this is not theocracy. It's just a matter of black and white facts.
Right. And another question I wanted to ask was to feed off what you guys are saying. Mentioning the Black Lives Matter movement during the summer, the uprisings, the death of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. Do you think a big part of the reason why men are seeming to lose the ability to influence the youth is because it's dangerous to be a Jekna? If you are a strong Black man, you're going to get vilified. They're gonna boycott you. They're gonna take away your show. They're gonna fire you. They're gonna, you're gonna get less clients and less customers. I mean, is that the reason why a lot of older Black men our age seem to be losing a little bit of power, because it's so dangerous being the ones to speak up?
Well, I think it's this.
Samuel Jackson, brother. I'm gonna let my brother. I had to put the Samuel Jackson on for this.
All right. I think that when you look at it, I'm 51. I'm a Generation Xer, right? So my generation, we sold the drugs. We were doing a lot of the killing. We were doing all the game, and we're selfish on top of all that. We're selfish people. If we get something, we move to the suburbs. We don't look back. That's just a fact. I just gotta put it where it is. The young people today that are stuck in those situations where they have to fend for themselves, and they saw that over the summer, they said, we're no longer going to take this. We got our phones. We're on the phones all day. We see the injustices happen, and we're going to do something about it, right? The best thing that we can do is to guide them, cultivate that energy, and guide them and get out of the way. That's what we have to do. We have to be willing to do that, because if we don't do that, we're going to stagnate, angle to get a position, try to get money, and try to monetize it, and do those things like we've always been doing, and you've just got to let them be who they are and support them and back them up, because they're going to go out there, and just think about it. I went to a couple of protests. I don't know if anybody else did, but I also support some young people, because they're going to be out there in the front lines. And that's the difference right now. We've got to be honest. So, like I said, I'm a Generation Xer. A lot of the Generation Xers are very selfish. I can't speak for all of them. There are some out there really trying to make it happen. But if they got a good job, and they got a family to raise, they might be disinterested in that. But then there's some of us that are out there trying to make sure that we're on the front lines and supporting those people that are really out there.
Right. All right, brother, you want to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, brother. You see, I brought some backup, brother. I got brother.
You got a heavy hitter with you right now, brother.
Yep.
Brother.
You break it up a little bit, Brother Lovejoy.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that there were 3 sciences that the oppressor would never teach us, brother. And that is the science of business, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. And we need to know these 3 sciences. We need to know these 3 sciences so that we can stand up and be strong. Number 1, when we talk about business, that's the science of economics. And very simply, business is warfare. So they see us on the basketball court. They see us on the football field. They know they can't compete. Listen, if we take that same genius and put it in the business field, that's one of my youngsters calling me. I'm still, brother. You know, and then you have the science, brother, of war, right? So again, they see us on the baseball field. They see us on the football field. They see us, brother, on the basketball court. They don't want to see us on the battlefield, brother. They never wanted to see that. And then lastly, the science of mating. And the tag to that is how to give birth to a God, how to give birth to a child of destiny. See? We talk about this thing called epigenetics. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm sure probably you are, brother. This epigenetics talks about, right, the changing of the genetic code from the long and systemic implications of trauma. And so our children are being born traumatized. And what I'm saying to you is that, you know, the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. Well, the flip side to that coin is that healed people heal people. All right? And so what we're striving to do, brother, is again, be unapologetically Black. And if we don't take this time right now in the present, it may not come up again.
Let me just say this, and this is my own train of thought. We need balance, right? There's brothers like y'all who speak those strong Black words, the Muslim in you. There's strong Christian brothers who speak the God in them. But when you go to the hood, it ain't in them the same way it's in you. Now, you can educate them all you want, right? Or attempt to educate them, but they ain't going to get it that way. So when we talk about meeting them where they are, sometimes you need balance. You're going to need the brothers like high up here, but you also going to need the brothers that can get in and infiltrate and talk with them and deal with them. One of my mentors who actually married me off, right? Sam Saylor, Reverend Sam Saylor. I go to church on Sunday with him. I don't go to church currently. I'm putting it out there. But when I would go to church on Sunday, he taught God. On Monday, I'm sitting in his little office he had on Elm Street doing print. And I'm over there crying about either a girl, I'm crying about something else going on. He never once said, well, you know what God says? You know what this says? He says, my brother, if there's anything I could do to help, what I did when I was younger, or when I did this is what happened. Sometimes you can't come at them with all the fire. Just like I work in a position where I can't come in and be militant. I work with kids who are from the inner city that get bussed out to the suburbs because they want a better chance. I can't bring that fire. I gotta tone it down and I have to shield what I do, right? And I have to learn to educate. Sometimes what happens is when that guy tried to take me out the back door for my education, I went out that back door and then I found another door to go inside. Something that would have taken me 4 years to accomplish by getting my high school diploma, I went for literally less than 2 weeks of an adult education program. I went the first week just to see where I was at. And then I went the last week right before the testing was. And Devin can definitely attest to this. You know, I remember going for testing for my GED. And when I tested, the lady said, what are you doing here? And I'm like, wait, my principal told me, what are you doing here? Now this lady is telling me what I'm doing here. That fiery young kid, I'm about to curse her out. She said, hold on, brother. You tested above everything here. The only reason why I want you to go to school is your math is a little low. When she said what my math was, it wasn't that it was low. It's just that it was lower than what my reading was because I tested above what they had. So she just wanted to make sure because it's different when you're testing and you're sitting for 6 hours. You can know as much as you know, but when you got to sit and do something over and over. So sometimes going back to what I said, you plant the seed. You help that flower grow and cultivate, and eventually that fire, if I need to spit the fire, I may not know all the names, but I come at you in a different way. You know what I'm saying? I'm what I like to tell people, I am unapologetically Black and Asian. Because when I was a kid, I let too many people tell me who I wasn't. And when they tried to tell me who I was, I believed them. Because what I learned is no matter how many times somebody can tell you stupid, they can say you're stupid, but it don't matter until you believe it. When I stopped believing I was stupid and I said, I'm smart, I'm worth it, that's when I became something. If you build up somebody, so we definitely need people that can do that. And we need different, like in the army, you can't have all generals and all chiefs. You need somebody that's going to do certain levels. So we have to, and we can't knock somebody for their religious beliefs because people believe different things. So we have to have people that educates everyone on different things. And if we ain't going to get into school, we build our own programs.
Oh, Larry has something he want to say, brother. You have it, Larry.
Yeah, man. To like kind of piggyback off of where I think that Lovejoy was headed at. Him just kind of using that tone, and I was able to watch him use that tone and like use the experience that I've been able to kind of grab some of his ways and I kind of use them in our work. Speaking about the danger of being too vocal about what you feel, in order for you to stop the shooters or the shootings rather, you gotta be willing to sit down with the shooters, right? If it's a shooting happening on Albany Avenue, but you don't want to go to Albany Avenue, there's no way that you're gonna be able to stop that shooting over there. So what it is that we do is that we actually respond to the scenes in the hospital when a victim is shot. So anybody in Hartford is shot, our team goes to the hospital, goes into the fire, and actually works with the victim at that point. So you speak about meeting them where they're at. You speak about the danger of it, and then you speak about being able to actually interject and to offer them these life skills, and just kind of hearing Lovejoy's passion and his words and the way he speaks. I was able to watch him actually de-escalate a family that was in highly in pain, dealing with the loss of a loved one, and watching him being able to use the skill sets that he has of being, maybe it is a little bit street, or it's a little bit, the Muslim style, whatever it was at the time. I'm like watching him kind of gauge it in like different areas. And one thing that I can assure us all on the phone call here now is that knowing the guys that is actually really out here doing the work, right? Because you got folks out here that's out here getting paid to make it all sound good, make it all look good. But then you got folks out here that's really going into the fire, into the danger. So speaking about being, the danger of it all being an issue, whether it be you being too vocal about it or whatever it is, I suggest, watch and learn from the Mr. Woods and the Lovejoys. Watch and learn what their skill set is. That can probably help us be able to connect to those people that's hurting where they're at, using those skill sets that can kind of get used in different ways, and like really be impactful, I would say. We did a program started in December, and it was called Yet, and it was a program that was designated to help out kids that was dealing with trauma in the Hartford area, and we were able to actually, do what this call is about right now, work on these layers of this pain, layers of this trauma, and we were able to kind of get down to the core of the problem. And we had a room full of shooters, right? Shooters and kids that was shot, kids that was getting high, selling drugs. We had the worst of the worst in the city of Hartford, and that was a chance for us to be able to pull them in, meet them, look them eye to eye, meet them, talk to them, hear their story, hear their pain, but then also offer them these coping skills to help them deal with this life. And we can't save them all, but during that time period, we didn't have any youth in Hartford get killed. The one got injured, but the most important part was that we were able to meet them where they was at, where we're right inside the danger part, right in the flame of the fire, and offer them true life skills and coping skills that I can only hope that it will turn out to save them kids' lives.
Right.
Let me say this real quick. I cannot do what Brother Johnson, Brother Lovejoy is doing, and hands down praises to Brother Woods in the background. When I say I can't do what they do, first of all, Woods has been doing this forever out there when dealing with the trauma. When the kids, when you hear shooting, he's out there. He's been doing it since I was a kid. I see that, right? So they do what's called intervention. The problem is already there. It happened. So now they got to deal with it. But what I can do, or what I have been doing, and what we need a whole lot more, but they don't give money to, is prevention. We need to teach these kids so that we can prevent it, because it's a lot cheaper to prevent it. Jail is an intervention. It's an expensive, lucrative intervention that makes so much money that those same people, and when you do the paper trail, you'll find out it goes up pretty high, keep making money. And that's why it's not going to stop on that level. So we have to do more prevention. And I've always said this, I wonder, because Lovejoy up there in age, Woods definitely up there in age, he just had a birthday. Who's going to take up the torch? I give so much praise to Woods. Woods hired one of my, I'm kind of like a mentor / big brother to a brother by the name of Eddie Woods, and he does their program called Raising Youth Voices. That program, working with those kids, me in a little bit of moments I've had with them, I've seen so much out of these kids, and I see that fire brewing up and waiting to come out. That brother is doing stuff. I used to tell Eddie I'm jealous of you. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. I said, not the jealous like I want to fight you, but the jealous like I've been sitting here unemployed, looking to get in a job, and you're doing exactly what I was doing years ago, and these people don't want to hire me. Sometimes we got to knock on these gatekeepers' door, and then when they don't want to answer the door, they don't want to let us in, we got to kick them doors down so that we let them know, like, y'all holding on to like precious resources that can help our youth. And you're hiring people that look good on paper, but don't actually know how to speak with a kid. They don't know how to de-escalate a situation. They want to wait till it's a problem, and then they say, oh, we got money for basketball. Every kid is not a basketball player. Them shooters out there, they're not shooting balls, they shooting guns, So we got to learn to break it down. I don't know. Whew.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I want to start wrapping up real quick. But y'all guys have some very profound things, and I want to just read back some of the things that everybody said as far as suggestions and ideas. First thing, we have to deal with our own trauma. We can't help anybody else unless we help ourselves. So that's the first thing that we touched on that we can do to improve the situation in the youth and the community. Deal with our own trauma and empower ourselves mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. Second thing was we have to find ways to educate our own, meaning that we're gonna have to come up with our own curriculums, develop our own programs so that we can implement them as a means of creating a positive change, a positive influence in the community. Brother Hill brought a really good point. He said there's a fire under these young people, and he's basically saying that we have to guide them, but then get out of their way, which is 100% true. Empower them, guide them, and show them the way, but at the same time, let them be themselves and let them take the lead. Because like Ty said, who's gonna carry that torch of the individuals trying to create change now? They're gonna be the ones to carry the torch. So they have to be the ones to take the lead, and we have to let them take the lead as opposed to trying to guide them to monetize programs or things of that nature. And Brother Lovejoy brought out how we have to learn the science of business, warfare, and mating. And then finally, Ty brought out the point of prevention versus intervention, which means we have to change our whole paradigm of thinking instead of waiting for something to happen and then jumping in the middle and trying to slow things down or create a peaceful situation. And we are creating a peaceful situation first and creating the right environment for them first and guiding them first. And the negativity won't come, and we're gonna have to intervene and try to cope with it afterward. That's pretty much everything that we cover. I know we can keep going all night, but I want to say thank you to everybody who came. And if you got any final words, please just give us some final words, and then we'll wrap it up.
I just got one thing real quick.
Yes,
I just think what we talked about just now is when you think about everybody on this call right now from all different walks of over Connecticut and all different, the collective action that we have here. So what Ty said, I can't speak like this can't speak with that same fire and that same, but what I can do is I can do this and that and so we all have different skill sets innate that we were born with, and some of them that were nurtured throughout our time growing up as Black men. So I think this is, I want to say a start because we started a long time ago, but the collectiveness, and we got to remember that it's a collective group effort. So all we do have our own private things that we do, and we all have needs in our personal life, but we're only going to achieve this through collectiveness. Because I need you with the wellness initiatives. I need you to get my blind spot. I need you to be like an O-line. We protect. So we got to get each other's blind spots and not fall victim to that crabs in the bucket mentality that so many of our people fall into. Yep. So just the collective, I'm just happy to know y'all, man. And that's it. That's all I got.
Exactly. Oh, Brother Lovejoy, you got to unmute.
Yeah, just very quickly, but I got to get out of here and go pick one of my young folks up, right? Since I got Brother Woods here, I'm gonna say number one, keep the ball in play. That's what we got to do. Keep the ball in play. Number two, strengthen the bench, brother. You know, because the front runners out here, the first responders, brother, we getting older, all right? And the opposition seems to be growing as well, all right? So strengthen the bench. And then lastly is a saying that we use in the nation, brother, and it goes like this. It says that they can't win in the shape they in, and we can't lose with the stuff we use.
All right.
I want to echo, Rich's comments is that it's just a beautiful thing to sit amongst you all, brothers. I learned a lot just listening to you, and I want to continue to do that as I get older and try to, I look up to each of you as mentors. You ain't got to be, I ain't got to know you like that, but, when you speak something that breathes life into, some of the things I want to see and want to do, I listen and I appreciate you all. Just looking to continue to collaborate, collect, if Devin, and his inspiration wants to do a follow-up conversation, that'd be great. We get the thing broadcasted on live next time, and kind of put this out to the people. Shout out to Mr. Woods, Eddie. My son went through their program too, raising youth voices. He benefited greatly from it. And I know for sure there were some seeds planted in him from the great work that's being done over there on Main Street. So appreciate you. If you can, find me on social media, on Facebook. We got some events coming up through the fraternity that are going to be really dope. A conversation on generational trauma is coming up. A conversation on Black women and birth trauma and their mistreatment by the medical system is going to be coming up. About us infusing ourselves into the economy, race and real estate is coming up. Bitcoin, stocks, all those types of things. So all the some of those things that Brother Lovejoy is speaking about, we're going to have some solution-focused conversations about that with some really empowered Black folk to get us on the right track. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. And man, shoot me the link for that. I want to be a part of all that. Conversations on they're gonna be ill.
Yeah, I want to just thank you for allowing us to get on this platform and talk. It's about 250 years worth of wisdom on this call right here, collectively, some powerhouse brothers. I've made some acquaintances and of course know some brothers here. So I really appreciate that. And we got to discover and uncover the great stuff that our youth are doing and push them forward. And like I said, guide them, Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey, Dev, would it be possible for you, and I don't mean to add too much to your plate, but would it be possible for you to send out an email with everybody's link on it?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Or contact, because I would love to stay in touch. I got a few emails up here, but I would love to. Thank you, bro.
No problem.
And Dev, will this be, I know it was recorded, good brother, will this be out somewhere in the public, or how do we get a chance to review it?
Yeah, I'm recording it on Zoom right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload it to YouTube and I'll shoot you guys the link.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just want to say before I go, some brand new, some different. We got to echo, so I want to make sure my words are clear. Make sure y'all follow me at BKS Photographs on Instagram, at the BKS Experience also on Instagram. I say this because social media is a powerful tool. It resonates. Social media is the main reason why a lot of our young folks have become woke. The information that they have is unlike the information we had. I had a conversation with my child's teacher, And we were saying how we went outside to play at their age. They at home playing video games, but they're also on the internet. They're learning things different. Social media, things are spreading fast. That's why when y'all talking about George Floyd earlier, Breonna Taylor, people are out there, the Black Lives Matter and all those other movements and things because of social media. Social media is a powerful movement. So if y'all have your own, make sure y'all follow me. I'll follow y'all back. That's a good way for us to disseminate information, to get it out there. It's a beautiful tool, you know, so let's utilize that. Let's share the information and never be afraid to speak your voice, because I may not be able to say certain things because this ain't my platform, but on my own platform.
All right. Justin, you got something to say before we wrap up?
Oh man, no, I'm good. I'm just happy to be a part of all this. You know what I'm saying? I'm usually the person doing all the talking, so it's good for me to sit around and listen for a change. I like that, because it's, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna live our life. We gotta continue to learn to the day we die. So, you know, I like to learn from other people. So sometimes it's good to just be quiet and listen. It's all right to do that. So I'm just in the back in the cut chilling. I hope we could collaborate on some other stuff. I love to learn, boy. Love it.
Absolutely. All right, Larry, you got something to say before we wrap up?
Hey, brother. So yeah, hopefully there's a follow-up conversation to have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're not just kind of making this thing, dropping the ball here, man. Because it's an awesome dialogue, I think, and being able to offer an action plan is a very important. It's going to be key to it all, man. So thanks for having me on the call, brother. And lastly too, Dad, I should have been mandated to be here, brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? Say, listen here, man, drop what you're doing. I need you here because this right here was an awesome call, and I almost had missed the call actually, man. So happy to be here, bro. Thanks again.
You know, I need you here, man. I know you be in the streets, really
Yes,
doing the work. So I know you needed to be here, man. So thank you for showing up, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, brothers. I think the senator is probably still a little bit busy, so we're gonna wrap up the call. Peace and blessings to all of y'all. Thank you for your input, and also stay in contact with each other because everybody knows the issues. We know the steps to take, so let's try and collaborate on something, man. It's a lot of good that can come out of this one meeting right here. So I have my own business, the Wellness Initiative. A lot of you guys have your own businesses, or you're managing businesses, or you're running things, you're running nonprofits. So let's all put our eggs in one basket, see if we can make some serious changes to Connecticut and to the world at large, man. We have the mind power to do it. Let's get it popping. So I will say good night to everybody. Peace and blessings. I love all of y'all, brothers, and salute to all y'all. Thank y'all for your time. Thank y'all for your energy. Thank y'all for your contribution. All right, peace. Good night.
Peace, Kings.
Yes, sir.
Peace, Kings.